And I would say the difference is that in the UK, you guys are really no nonsense. At least my experience of it.
Yep.
You guys are like, give me the evidence. I don't care about the fluff. Like, I want the evidence. I want the facts. Like, there's something almost like you're not afraid of the reverence, like the woo-woo reverence of it.
Hello and welcome to the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival podcast. I am your host, Rach Cox, and I am thrilled to be interviewing some of the world's best known experts in spirituality and well-being. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Hello, and thanks for joining us, Taylor Paige, you absolute legend. So it's an absolute honour and a privilege to be talking to you today. I'm just going to do a little intro of Taylor Paige so that for those of you who don't know who this absolute legend is, you certainly will after this. Taylor Paige is an internationally recognised angelic intuitive, astrologer, and evidential medium. She has worked with thousands of clients around the world, both in one-to-one sessions and through workshops on angelic connection, soulmate attraction, and the healing of the witch wound. Her mission is to connect as many people as possible to their angels and past loved ones. Wow. You're like a magical woman.
I claim that, yes.
Yeah, nice. Excellent. There's so much in there that I'm super interested in on a deeply personal level. So I'm going to hopefully be able to touch upon that as well. So we'll start off with you just telling us a little bit about yourself and your background as an intuitive, and how did you discover or develop your abilities?
Yes. So like most people, I came into this world completely online. I think every single person has a connection to intuitive abilities, and many of us learn to fear it in our early life. And I believe fear is an essential part of intuitive reclamation. Feeling the fear, as medium Val Williams would say, feeling the fear and doing it anyway. So I came in completely online, but extremely scared of it. I didn't have language to express what was happening. I was feeling spirits around me. Clairsentience is my most heightened clair, which is psychic feeling. And just feeling without the seeing or anything else can be really disconcerting when you're a child. So yeah.
Yes.
So I basically made this pact with myself. I was like, I'm going to completely shut this off. I'm choosing to just completely put a blindfold over my third eye. Well, I didn't realize that at the time, but that's what I was doing. And it led me to this place in my life where I was at a complete rock bottom. I cut off this necessary limb of my human GPS system. And I was in a toxic, abusive relationship. I was sick. I was in the wrong career path. And I just hit this very dark night of the soul moment. And that's when I had to open back up, because by shutting out everything, I was also shutting out my angels, my guides, the benevolent forces that are here to help all of us. And so I, from that moment, just started to open back up. My cousin got me a deck of cards, and I started giving myself readings, giving friends little readings, and I just got this download. I was living in a tiny little studio apartment in a place called Studio City, and I know.
That just conjures up an image literally of just studios.
Yes,
only.
It's just a city of studios with people figuring themselves out. And I was a waitress, and I just got this download. Sell your couch, which was like the only thing in my studio other than my bed. It was like a bed and a couch. That's all that could fit. And they were like, put on Facebook. This was maybe in 2016 or 2017. So Facebook was still the main thing. Put on Facebook that you're giving free readings to anybody who wants them. And it was the scariest thing that I've ever done. But for 1 year, I practiced on whoever would let me for free. And friends told friends told friends of friends, and it just spiraled into what it is today. And I haven't looked back.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
So when you said you had a download, what was that like? Was it just like an overwhelming feeling?
That's such a good question. So I believe that our guides are persistent and will never miss a message that is meant for us. And so it basically was just this knowing It started with a knowing, and then I dreamt of it, and then it kept coming up over and over and over again, and then I kept seeing like the steps of what I had to do in my mind's eye. So I think there was this persistence behind it.
Okay, that's a really good explanation, because when some people say download, it seems like this ethereal, intangible thing that, you know, maybe you had a thought about it and thought it was good, but this is several things that connect and keep coming back.
Yeah, and I agree. I think the word download is used so loosely. And I think what a lot of people are describing is claircognizance, which is why it's so ineffable and hard to pin down. It's just a knowing. So all of a sudden they know something and that gets a download. And I think that's tied to their claircognizance.
Perfect. I'm so glad that we sorted that out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. So you're in America, aren't you? And
I am. What gave it away?
Yeah. Several things. Your accent, and it's written down on a bit of paper next to me.
Okay.
And I've been on your Instagram. So I was there actually last week. The weather was terrible when I was there, but now
Oh my gosh. Were you in LA?
I was in LA and it was raining.
Know. It was the worst weather. I actually loved it because we don't get enough rain. So, but if I was just visiting, I would have felt the same way.
Specifically, we were visiting from England.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Which is, the weather here is predominantly liquid. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, but that
anyway,
keeps it so beautiful.
It does keep it green. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that you had a little touch of liquid sunshine for a change in the sunshine state. It's good for the earth, for sure.
Absolutely.
So you're in America, and do you think it's a good place for you to develop your intuition? And do you think that the spiritual industry is different in the US compared to the UK? And then,
yes.
Do you enjoy coming to London? 3-part question.
Yes, I love these 3 questions so much. First of all, yes, I love coming to London. And when I got invited to be a speaker at the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival, I was so excited. I was like, I will not be Zooming in or whatever. I will be flying in. So it took, you know, I was ready. I was like, twist my arm. Yes, I'm there.
Sweet.
So yeah, I absolutely love it. It is a goal of mine and my husband to one day live part-time in the UK somewhere. So absolutely feel connected to the land there and the people.
Great.
I think you guys are so funny and nice.
That's kind.
Yeah. I do think that so I have limited experiences with the spiritual industry in the UK. I do have quite a few clients in the UK that I read for. Everyone is so lovely. And I've studied at Arthur Findlay College. So that's my main experience of spirituality in the UK. And I would say the difference is that in the UK, you guys are really no nonsense, at least my experience of it. Yep. You guys are like, give me the evidence. I don't care about the fluff. Like, I want the evidence. I want the facts. Like, there's something almost like you're not afraid of the reverence, like the woo-woo reverence of it. It's almost this like, transactional isn't the right word, but it's like, I'm looking to be given XYZ. And if I'm not given that, whereas in the US, I find that people can sometimes be taken in by everything about it, that they're so kind of give their power away a little bit to the reader, a little bit more. But I do think that there is this, so the UK just is OG, like with the spiritualist churches. And I mean, I know the US, of course, like on the East Coast and Lilydale, and we have all of that too. But the UK just, I don't know, it seems like such a hub for me of spiritual connection and communities that really are grounded in it. And I think the US is still catching up a little bit. But that being said, I find that the US's spiritual community has a deep connection to spirituality as a psychological tool. Like in the arenas that I'm in, people are interested in the fusion of science, spirituality, psychology, inner child healing, like, and sort of weaving that all together in a quote unquote self-help way. So I think especially being in LA, there's a lot of emphasis on like the self-help element and how readings and intuitive connection fits into that.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, great. And do you think where you are is a good place to develop? your intuition? Is the place where you're at, is that relevant to everyone as well?
I think what I love about being in LA is that everybody's really open. If you talk about your astrology or this or that, nobody's going to look at you twice. People are going to be like, oh, I know I did get a download that I shouldn't go on the 405 today. It's like, it's a very spiritually open city. And for that reason, I am so grateful. And it's really great too, because it was the perfect city for me, because the restaurant I was a waitress in my practice year, everyone was spiritual. Everyone wanted a reading from me. And maybe in a different city, that wouldn't have been the case. So there's definitely an openness here. And I always explore this work with playful curiosity. And I think that is embodied by the city.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. If you did that in Glasgow in Scotland, I think you'd have a very different response.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I've been to Glasgow.
Yeah, I'm going there next week.
It's beautiful.
It's very friendly, very down to earth, and definitely not what I would call a spiritual hub as such.
Yeah.
But I love it. I absolutely love it. It's where my granddad's from, actually.
Oh,
so
wow.
We've talked about your home in LA quite a lot, actually, now. Can intuition be cultivated and improved, or is it an inherent trait?
It's both. It's an inherent trait, and it can be cultivated and improved. And so what happens so commonly is that in our society, especially here in the US, we don't value things that are not seen. So even for education, we value the diploma. The things that are unseen are sort of dismissed as not valuable, not productive, and intuition is one of those things. And I think also there's sort of this sexist connotation of intuition being dismissed as a feminine strength and so not of importance. So there's so much around that. But I think people throw the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to intuitive development. And if they get one thing wrong or something doesn't pan out the way they wanted to, they're like, I'm not intuitive. I'll never be intuitive. And they shut down. But in reality, Shaq wasn't Shaq the first time he picked up a basketball. And it's just like developing any other skill. We just have to think of it like we would, not in this mysterious, intangible way, but like any other skill or language we're trying to learn. It's clunky in the beginning, but there are things you can do, exercises you can do where you start to trust yourself. And my definition for intuition is the sum of the times we've trusted ourselves. So it's a practice.
Okay, great. And people have asked me before what the difference between instinct and intuition is. I wondered if you could elaborate on your thoughts on that.
I think instinct is a subsection of intuition. So intuition is an umbrella that can express itself in many different ways. And I think instinct is a primal connection, a primal intuitive connection.
Great. Perfect. Delicious. Are there any misconceptions about intuition that you encounter frequently?
Yeah, I think there are misconceptions around not being intuitive. Like I was talking about before, people will be like, I'm just not intuitive or I'm just not connected. But every single person is intuitive. I think also, you know, of course, there's a lot of fear mongering from either different religious institutions or things like that. Anything that can be very sacred to goddess energy, the divine feminine, is oftentimes dismissed as satanic and evil and bad. And so that's definitely the culmination of the witch wound, which is a whole big topic on itself. But there's this feeling like if I connect with my guides, I'm actually connecting with something evil and I'm going to hell or things like that. And that's probably the biggest misconception.
So it demonized that. Yeah. Okay. Pushed into the female rather than it being a universal genderless power.
God has no gender.
No.
We anthropomorphize the divine. We are so egotistical as humans. We try to personify everything we don't understand and then make it male on top of that. So it's so silly.
And then make us believe that there's some geezer sat on a cloud wearing a sheet and sandals with a, it's very odd. It's very odd.
It's very odd.
It's incredibly narcissistic.
So narcissistic of us to be like, okay, so the creator of everything is actually an old white guy. Perfect.
Exactly. Oh, this is exactly what I keep going around. Saying that, though, I have got his son sat there. Bit of Jesus. I love a bit of Jesus.
Jesus is great. Yeah, Jesus' teachings are amazing. Wow, yep. What a great guy. We just can't forget all of the amazing women that have been sanitized out of the story.
Exactly. I've been reading those books too, babes. Don't you worry. Does intuition take place in the mind, body, or spirit?
All three, once again. So intuition is this blanket term for so many different avenues of connection. The mind is one of the most difficult connections. Getting downloads, as we were talking about, claircognizance, I think is one of the most advanced clairs. Because as soon as we ask a question and we want an answer, the mind comes in and tries to answer it for us, which is not our intuition. And that's where people mistake fear for intuition, where they are immediately either attached to an outcome or looking for evidence of what they want to be true or looking for evidence of how they've been hurt in the past and not wanting that again. So the mind is very, very tricky. Intuition and imagination are sister languages, and they communicate in a very similar way. So it really takes a lot of discipline and time and practice to be able to decipher which thoughts are yours, which thoughts and images and things that pop into your mind is intuition. One of the main tells is that the thoughts that pop into the head will be in the second person. So it'll be like, you've got this, instead of I've got this.
Right.
Where I encourage people to start is intuition in the physical body. Our body is our biggest divining tool, and the mind can get in the way and is a little bit more of an intermediate to advanced place to connect intuitively. But if you can just get more present with your physical body, I always say, what does a yes feel like in your body? What does a no feel like in your body? And take that micro moment to micro moment. It will help you navigate in a more connected and loving way. And the body, I mean, even when you walk into a room or you're hanging out with a partner and your stomach hurts and you feel like uneasy and you're kind of tight and clenched up, like that is your intuition speaking to you through your physical body. Our body is always speaking to us. And I always say, listen to the whispers of your body so it doesn't have to scream.
Very true. Yeah, I've been in that situation many a time. And then you find that you gaslight yourself with your mind. So your mind then takes over and reframes them.
Yep. That's the main block I see with intuition is actually your heart having the answer, but you playing judge and jury in your head speaking over it. And who are you playing judge and jury with? Who are you speaking over? That voice is your intuition. And oftentimes we don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear what that means about our life or the changes we'll have to make. And so oftentimes the biggest block I see is staying in circumstances that your intuition has been begging you to get out of, and you keep talking yourself into it and staying into it, and you go down this path where you push down your intuition for so long that's when you feel disconnected, lost, hopeless, like you don't even know what you want. And it's the process of not seeking outside of yourself for intuitive reclamation, but going deep within and kind of pulling out the layers of everything you've had to push down to stay in your circumstances for so long.
Yeah. To override the intuition.
Yes.
Or force it, which makes us sick. So you've covered mind and body there. And what would you say would be a spiritual, unless I've missed it, of course.
Oh, no. Yes. Sometimes these 3-part questions are questions with multiple things.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. So the spirit element is when we are in moments of transcendence, when we create sacred containers for deep meditation. Even in the dream world, spirit can come through easier with us because our defenses are down. So spirit is the moment where we're not so attached to the story of who we are, but we allow for the truth of who we really are to connect with us. And in those moments, it's when everything is transcended and there's just this deeper sensory experience that we're taking on. It can come about in many different ways, but that's the spiritual connection. When we're not seeking or grasping or wanting answers to anything, we're just allowing and co-creating with the spirit world, which is all around us. It's not this thing above us or below us. It's all around us, and we open to remember that we're part of it.
Wicked. Would you say that synchronicity and signs are part of a spiritual part of your intuition as well?
Absolutely. What I say, because I don't know how it is in the UK, but angel numbers, signs, like they are so on fire, and they have been. And that's what people really talk about a lot. And what I say is that the signs aren't the intuition themselves. They're an invitation for intuition. So you have to know what the sign means, and that's the intuitive part. So you can either create an index and a language of signs with your guides, so you can assign very specific meanings to things. Like when I see ladybug, I know I'm on the right path. And when I see angel number 911, it means I know I need to stop, slow down, breathe, and proceed with caution, whatever it is. So the signs themselves are your angels and guides being like, hey, look, there's glitches in the matrix. There's magic all around. Like, please create a container to connect with us.
Okay, right. When you say create a container to connect with us, what sort of thing are you talking about, just so that people can be on the same page?
Absolutely. So what I find is that a lot of people with intuition, it's like an afterthought. It's something that they're like going through their day, and while they're like juggling a million different things, they're asking themselves, well, if I'm meant to get a sign, I will. Or if this message is supposed to come to me, it will. But what I mean about creating a sacred container is meeting your guides and your higher self halfway, making sacred space a priority where you sit in silence, where you get still, where you observe your thoughts. You can, of course, have your favorite crystal or whatever, but none of that is necessary. Getting into nature, just sitting in silence, creating negative space for your guides to fill. Because if we're always on screens and this and that, while our mind is constantly in the background wanting some sort of intuitive answer, you're not creating the container or the space to actually receive the answer. And 9 times out of 10, your guides are sending it to you over and over and over, and you're not seeing it.
Wow. That is such a good, like, practical thing for people to take away from this. Like, just create space so that there is a sign and you can connect with your intuition.
Like any relationship, would you only go to someone when you were desperate or you need something? Or, create a relationship with your angels, your guides, your higher self throughout the good times, throughout the challenging times. So many times people go to their intuitive practices or desperately pull a card when they're at a rock bottom moment. And that is not a recipe for success, because like any relationship, it takes 2. So our guides can be there for us, but are we there for them? And that's a really important part of the sacred container.
And by being there for them, do you mean just like maintaining a relationship so that they know we're tuned in? Because I don't have anything to offer a sacred guide.
That's not true.
Oh, really?
That's not true.
It's nice to know I have some role in this. Good.
Absolutely. And the work you're doing is very important. Don't doubt that.
No, sure.
So in showing up for them, that means creating space to listen. Because so many people are asking the question, and then never creating blank space to hear the answer. And so showing up for them is also trying to do your healing in a way that keeps you at a higher vibrational place so that you can meet them in the middle, because they vibrate so high. So that doesn't mean we have to be perfect all the time. That doesn't mean that we're absolved of the human experience if we go on a spiritual path. It just means do your best to evolve, be the best version of self, and take the relationship with your angels, your guides, your intuition, your higher self seriously. And that's how you really show up for them.
Awesome. Yeah, because most people that I know who have ever got into tarot cards or any kind of cards, it's always, like you say, at that desperate moment. And then everything hinges on a card at the most inopportune time. Yeah. And it's like, and then there's misconceptions about what that card means, you know, and their interpretations of it. So yeah, don't use it as an emergency situation.
Yeah. If you aren't using it when times are good and you're in flow, then it's going to be a lot harder to get accurate information when you're in an emergency situation, because you're just going to be looking for evidence of what you want to hear.
Yeah, that is really important for people to know. And that's something I think in the last year have come to realize, really, with that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Yes, excellent. So you will be coming to London, won't you? You'll be coming to speak and offer a workshop. It's got an awesome title of Be Your Own Oracle and Developing Your Intuition. I love the Be Your Own Oracle part because it's super empowering, because obviously, as you've mentioned before, people quite often hand over their power to someone or something else, especially like gurus or oracles or things like that. So I'm really happy. I'm personally very happy about the title of your workshop.
Thank
you. So people can book your ticket online, mindbodyspiritfestival.co.uk/London. Could you give us a little tease about one or two of the tips for intuitive development that you'll be teaching at the workshop?
Yes. So there's so much to say, and I'm so glad I get a whole hour and a half to go over so many different things. So the workshop is going to be so magical. Something I'll tease is the idea of working with what I call bridge frequencies. And like I was saying before, our guides, our angels, have to sort of meet us halfway. That's why it's called mediumship. We meet in the middle. And we have to raise our vibration. And that's where this concept of working with bridge frequencies is a really powerful way to amplify your intuitive connection. And so what a bridge frequency is different emotions that when we either think about or meditate on a memory, a relationship, a pet, a favorite place, anything that connects us to that emotion that raises our vibe, and we start from that place, it's easier to get into that middle ground. So some of the bridge frequencies I work with, gratitude is one of the best bridge frequencies, and they kind of connect us to different radio frequencies of spiritual information. I say gratitude connects us to our higher self. Joy connects us with our angels. Love connects us with the spirit world. So there's different bridge frequencies for different things, and we'll be working with them in the workshop so that you have tangible entryway points for yourself to jump off into higher intuitive connection.
Wicked, jumping off bridges to get connection. I'm here for this. Excellent. Bit of an adrenaline junkie, so spiritually or physically.
Energetic bridges. Don't jump off bridges, guys. Energetic bridges.
They all know that I'm an absolute silly Billy, so yeah. Oh dear. Thank you for clarifying and being the health and safety of the podcast, my love.
Absolutely.
Why do you say that your body is our biggest divining tool? You mentioned it a little bit earlier. Every time I do my thumbs up, it keeps on this.
It's funny. That's a new feature. It's been happening in my readings with people. I'll be like talking to them and I get a thumbs up and I'm like, oh, well, I guess that was a message that needed to be heard.
Yeah, exactly.
The universe is like,
thumbs up, babes.
So we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Many people believe that, including myself. And our body is where we meet the physical world. So it's where we are physical beings in a physical plane. So that means that our body is the emphasis of what we're doing here. And it's through our body and with our body that we move forward with what we want, with how we connect with our loved ones, with what we want to create. It all comes through our physical body, and our spiritual connection is no different. Our body is perfectly designed for intuitive messages to come through, and intuitive connection is actually a very physiological experience as well. So our body is this sacred temple, and I know that sometimes that can rub people the wrong way hearing that. And I get that. But what I really see most often is that people's consciousness through the fast-paced, busy world that we're in shoots up into their crown chakra. And it's what I call a crown chakra block in my practice. And I feel it in almost everyone to varying degrees. And it's this energetic experience of holding the reins of life so tightly, of being in this place of control, overthinking, second guessing, thinking about all of the outcomes. And so many people forget to breathe, forget to ground, forget to connect to what their body wants. And so much of our fast-paced life is also designed to override what our body is telling us. If you're tired, drink caffeine. If you're sick, take a pill and keep working. And our body actually has so much information for us if we slow down. And practices like yoga, stretching, breathing, those are all things that we can do to connect back to our body. And so many times what I see is people go through something traumatic or difficult early on in life, and it shoots their consciousness into their head because it's too painful or scary to be in their heart, and it doesn't feel safe to be in their body in some way. But that healing and reclamation of feeling safe and grounded to just be in your body without thinking is a very important piece of the puzzle when it comes to intuition, because just sitting in silence is a really big part of spiritual connection.
Amazing. So then you can hear the things and feel the things in your body. Excellent. Can you share a success story, either your own or a client's, where intuition has assisted a situation drastically?
There are so many. I have a few client stories that come to mind, but I think I want to stick with my own for just the sake of privacy and respecting boundaries. Mm-hmm. So there's a really actually dramatic story about intuition saving my life. So you were here in LA when it was raining. Well, mm-hmm. Rewind to my hometown. Have you ever heard of Ojai, California? It's like you would love it. It's this spiritual little hippie town in the mountains about an hour from LA. And that's where I was born and raised. Okay. And so sometimes we could get some intense rain and weather there. And so my childhood home had about 21 oak trees on the property. There were a lot of really big oak trees on our property. And we had a pretty long driveway. And when I would come home, I would always park my car on the same place. And then, I would usually just sit in my car and kind of like text and be on my phone before I'd go in. So there was one day where it was a really bad storm. And I drove my car home. I parked on the driveway. And I clearly heard a voice that said, "Move your car to the street." I was just sitting on my phone, on my phone in the car, just like kind of texting. I was like, "Move my car to the street." I was like, you know what? That was too clear to not listen to it. And this was early on in my development. I was not a professional in this space yet. I was just starting to open up a little bit more. So I moved my car to the street. I walk up the driveway. About 1 second after I pass where my car was, a tree falls right on the space where I was sitting.
Whoa.
And it sounded like this thunderclap. It sounded like Zeus was hurling lightning bolts from the sky. And I turned around and there was this huge beloved oak tree. And I'm like, did the oak tree tell me that, or did my guides? Because I love the trees so much. But anyway, so
Poor tree.
I know. I was like, rest in power, tree. Wow. So I run into the house and I scream for my dad. I'm like, Dad, a tree fell. He was like, "Oh, you're being dramatic. I'm sure it was just a branch." He comes outside and sees this whole oak tree fallen where I park my car all the time. Then we get a call, And at the very same moment, an oak tree fell on. Ojai has a lot of oak trees and they're protected by the government. So even if they're like sick or things like that, it's very frowned upon to chop them down, which, you know, I love. I don't want people to chop down trees, but sometimes it can get dangerous, like in this instance. So the same moment that the tree fell where my car was, it fell where my dad sits at his office every single day, and a huge one that was right outside of his window at the same time. And because my car was on the street, we could drive there because the oak tree that fell blocked all the other cars in from our house too. So it was a 2-part saving message.
That's made me go all tingly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jeepers creepers.
Yeah.
So a literal knock-on effect of avoiding death.
Yes, avoiding death. My dad sat there every single day. It happened to fall on a weekend that these 2 trees fell. And I was a hair away from being under that tree when it fell.
Crikey, O'Reilly.
Yeah.
Well, thank goodness you listened to the tree, or the angel, the angel tree.
Whoever it was, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. That was a great story.
And that's, you know, it's intuition isn't something separate. It's not this bonus thing that we're cultivating. It's actually a really interwoven, necessary part of the human experience. And it's how we navigate the human experience with grace and trust and personal power. And that's one story. There have been countless stories that my intuition has saved me from different things, whether it's knowing to end a relationship, whether it's having a good feeling about a job I want, whatever it is. Intuition is a necessary survival skill for humanity, and everybody has it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Amazing. How does stress, fear, or pressure affect our ability or assist our ability to access and trust our intuition?
Yeah. So stress, fear, and pressure affects our intuition so much because intuition is about allowing. Forcing is the opposite of allowing. Mm-hmm. And so when we are trying to grasp and we have that energy of feeling desperate and there's all of this fear, that's not a reliable place to access your intuition from. Those emotions, first of all, are not who you are. We are not our emotions. We are not our thoughts, but they are powerful messengers for what needs to heal in you so that you can access deeper intuitive information. And so if you're feeling really heavy, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling stressed, sometimes that is the message. We're like waiting for the message. The message is right there in your physical body. You're heavy, you're stressed, something needs to go, something isn't working. And so it definitely affects our intuition to the nth degree because like I was saying before, from that state, we're only looking for evidence of what's hurt us in the past or what we want to happen instead of allowing for the actual message to come through. And so that's an invitation to sink deeper into your heart, to rewire things that, like I said, the LA fusion of psychology and self-help work with intuition, but it's a necessary marriage because when we don't work on ourselves, when we don't heal things of the past, it's really hard to be in an accurate, grounded space for clear information.
Amazing. Okay. So sometimes the fear is the intuition.
Sometimes the fear is the messenger showing you the next step that you need to do, which is face that shadow work, face that fear, go deeper and ask yourself, what is this really about? And when I sit with people and they're so in this energy of desperation, which they're not desperate, but the energy of desperation is coming out through them as a messenger. And oftentimes what they're so desperate to call in, whether it's the partner or the family or whatever it is, which are very tender topics that are to be handled with care. But oftentimes what it is what that thing represents to them, not even just the thing itself. And so ask yourself when you're in this places of trying to force and push, what does the thing I want represent to me? Is it actually the job or is it a sense of freedom, a sense of ease, whatever it is? And ask yourself to go a bit deeper with what is within your heart attached to that and where you're blocking yourselves either in what you witnessed in childhood or what you believe to be true. There's no separation between our spiritual self-growth and journey. It's an imperative part of intuitive connection as well. There's no separation there.
Great, because lots of people think that if you feel fear that you're just blocking everything, but it's
fear's the messenger. Fear is the messenger. And you know what I say about fear, which is really important to say, is that fear is the best liar in the world. Fear is the best liar in the world. It is perfectly tailored to our insecurities, to our past wounding, to our inner child wounds, whatever it is. It's perfectly tailored to that. And when it's in our head, it feels so real. But what I say is say those fearful thoughts out loud with this over-the-top Disney villain type of voice, and you'll realize how silly it sounds when it's outside of your own head. When it's inside of your own head, it's like the most controlling, believable narrative. But when it's outside of your own head, like you'll never be loved. Like what? It just sounds so silly. It's like a Dr. Evil type of voice, and you can't take it seriously anymore.
That's such a good trick. Thanks. You're full of good tricks today, aren't you? Wonderful.
That's my job.
Thanks.
That's my job.
Well, I am so glad. In your workshop, will we learn what kind of clair sense we have? It's funny because my sister is actually called Claire. And when I read this, I'm highly dyslexic as well. And I literally read it as, how does she know my sister? And why is my sister of significance in this workshop?
We'll be interviewing Claire during the workshop.
Claire Cox is highly important as a workshop person.
Absolutely. So it's actually Claire's workshop. And I'm just going to be there.
Oh, you'll make a significantly brilliant pair. Excellent. So what kind of clair are we going to be sensing about?
All of them. And all of them work together. And we're definitely going to be talking about the different clairs. And yeah, there's so much there. And it's funny because the co-host of my podcast is named Claire as well.
Oh, wow.
And I actually just realized like the Claire's and Claire connection because I've been friends with her for so long. So it's funny that you just said that because I was just thinking about that yesterday.
Oh, brilliant. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Oh, what are you most looking forward to about Mind Body Spirit Festival and your workshop?
So I've taught many workshops, but they've all been virtual. So I'm so excited to connect in person. And
this is going to be awesome.
I know. So I'm so excited to actually get to feel the energy in the room and to meet everybody and to have those personal connections. I just can't wait.
Great. Well, you are going to have the time of your life because Mind Body Spirit's an epic festival of so many awesome humans. I always say wicked. It's a colloquial term in England for great, but I realise that if there's anyone American listening, I'm like, yeah, the people there are just so wicked. You might think I'm talking about evil, but they're awesome and lovely.
We've seen Harry Potter. We know what wicked means.
Okay, great. Which is basically the Bible of understanding the UK.
Exactly. Yeah, I pretty much get the UK, you guys. So
just from Harry Potter.
Just
Don't
from
even
Harry
need the
Potter.
whole lot of them. Just
I've seen all the movies, though, and read all the books, so I'm actually a UK expert in America.
Oh, well, there we have it. I'm glad that you've qualified yourself so brilliantly.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What are you looking forward to apart from Harry Potter and being there with everyone? Is there anything else just about the festival or just the workshop?
So I am a type of person that's such a hermit. I've actually never been to any type of festival in my entire life.
Wow.
I know, which is so wild, but I'm just so energetically sensitive. I avoid like big crowded places at all costs. But something about this one was like a full body yes to me when Roz reached out to me and invited me to come. So I was like, you know what? This is a full body yes. And I'm going in completely open. I have no expectations. I'm just excited. And I know I'm going to be led to wherever I need to be through the course of the weekend. And I can't wait to experience it. It seems like a really epic first festival experience for me.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's good for so many reasons. It's obviously your space and your people. But also because some festivals you have to sleep in a tent, and this one, darling, we don't have to. We can go we're inside, away from the elements.
I like that.
And it's a large space, but there's it's very diverse and very cozy because everyone there's so friendly. So I'm glad that it's your first festival, mate. I'm glad.
coolest first festival ever. And like you said, it's my people. And that's how I felt when I was at Arthur Findlay College. I got really emotional there every single day because I'd never been in an environment where everyone had the same beliefs and experiences as me. So I'm definitely really excited to be around like-minded people and just see what I learn and everything from them too. So I can't wait.
Great. And the most important thing is that we all speak like Harry Potter. So
yeah, exactly. That's really why I'm coming. Everything else is just kind of secondary.
Oh dear. So I've just got a couple of questions myself. One is about eclipse and moon cycles. And I don't mean in the woman, I mean in the sky. Do you think that there's potential for a deeper connection with intuition during these times?
Yes. So what I experience is that the planets, when the moon is full, we all feel like crazy people sometimes.
Absolutely.
What the moon is doing is turning the dial up. It's illuminating our inner world. So when we feel like crazy people, it's like, whoa, 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 there might be something here that we need to look at. So the planets, all of them, but especially the moon, because it's our emotional inner world experience, and our connection to intuition is very much connected to the moon. When the moon is going through different cycles, it's reflecting back different energetic states of ourself. So the sky is really mirroring our experience. And so it's necessary to go through all the cycles every year, or however many years some of the planets, make a full cycle. And it gives us different energetic spaces to almost like a foil, like the planets are this literary foil for us that we can learn more about ourselves from through interacting with their energy. So just observe things that come up with yourself. You can connect intuitively whatever the moon is doing wherever you are. I wouldn't let it become a superstitious or fearful thing, but I would use it as a tool for self-reflection. And if you journal your intuitive experiences, if you journal your dreams, write what sign the moon is in, what phase the moon was in, because we as humans look for pattern recognition, and astrology is one of the best tools for pattern recognition in a seemingly chaotic universe, which is why we're so drawn to astrology. And so you can maybe find correlations between what the stars are doing and how it interacts with your personal chart and when you feel you're most tapped in. So just write things down and you might notice some patterns and correlations.
Cool. Excellent. And what about eclipses?
So eclipses are a moment to not try to control anything. A lot of people get really in their head about eclipse season and eclipse energy, and they think it's all doom and gloom. But really what eclipse season is a karmic time. So it's a moment where it's dialed up what our soul came here to experience and learn. Some people get married during eclipse season. Some people have kids. Some people lose their job. Like, it's a mixed bag energetically. It's not always what we want, but in some way it's what our soul needed. So there's an extra sort of dial up. And I always say our angels and guides work overtime during eclipse season. Yeah, it's like their time and a half. At least we have that in the US, where on holidays you get paid time and a half.
We have that too, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. The final question I want to ask you about, which was what piqued my interest initially at the very beginning, is the witch wound.
Yeah.
Just a very quick smattering of that, if you will.
Absolutely. So the witch wound is something that deserves not only its own podcast episode, but its own series. There's so much to say about it. But what I will say is that if you have any fear around intuitive work, if you have any shame, shadow, if you feel like you have to be secret about what your spiritual beliefs are, if you feel like you can't take up space or be inconvenient or any of those things, it's a sign that you might carry this witch wound. And spoiler alert, most people do, especially in the US. And so the witch wound is a wound with the pain body of feminine energy. It is centuries of our relatives our ancestors witnessing that it's not safe for women to be powerful, spiritually connected, heard, inconvenient to the powers that be. It affects everything. And it's very much tied up with what I call patriarchal PR, which is the purposeful demonization of all things sacred to the feminine. And so there's so much to say here. I have my own whole workshop on it called Healing the Witch Wound, and it's a lot of material. But basically, the entry point is to sit with what the word witch brings up for you, and what would you do if someone on the street or someone in your family called you a witch? How would that make you feel? Would you feel unsafe? Would you feel like you have to hide? For me personally, I'd be like, yay, thank you so much.
Like that. I'm like, cheers.
Yeah, exactly.
You picked up on what I'm putting down, baby.
Exactly. So it's this wound that affects everything. It affects our relationship to aging. It reflects our relationships with trusting other women. It reflects our relationship to trusting our own spiritual power. And ultimately, at the root of all of it is it's a wound around us not feeling safe to be powerful.
Brilliant. That is amazing. Yeah, so you have a workshop on that. Where would we find that?
Angelsandamethyst.com is my website, and code 333 gives you $33 off any of the 3-part workshops.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad I asked the question about the witchy thing.
Yes, it's so important to me. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. And when we consider the archetype of the witch, she is one of the few human archetypes that isn't defined by who she is to anyone else. She's fully defined by her power, her agency, her inconvenience to the systems that be. And that can be very dangerous in our bodies to hold that, to embody that, and to give ourselves permission to step into that space.
Amazing. Excellent. Thank you so much. Maybe we will have to have you back on just to talk about that, because I am super into it. Excellent. So for anyone who hasn't realised that they must come along to this workshop with Taylor Paige, please do go to mybodyspiritfestival.co.uk/London and have a look at the workshops there. And the workshop is called Be Your Own Oracle, Developing Your Intuition, on Sunday, the 26th of May at 4 p.m. And Taylor, I am so pleased to say that I will be there to see you and give you a cuddle should you want one, and say hello and be a part of it. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in London.
Me too. I'll see you there. And Claire, have Harry Potter ready. I'm ready to watch it with you.
Excellent. I'll get my sister to sort it right out.
Perfect.
Thanks, my love. Loads of love. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival podcast. We would love to connect with you in real person at one of our epic events. Go to mindbodyspiritfestival.co.uk for tickets and information. I will see you there. Don't forget, you can also follow us on Instagram, MBS Wellbeing, for behind the scenes content, updates and offers. Stay cosmic, you beautiful soul.